In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the inner tie rod that connects the adjusting sleeve to the pitman arm. Let's get started. Before we start, just to be completely clear, we are replacing this one right here. Once again, pitman arm to the adjusting sleeve to the other inner tie rod. When doing this job, it's important to note that it will not change the toe, therefore the alignment, but it will change how the steering wheel sits. So if you shorten this, it'll actually bring the steering wheel to one side, and if you adjust it at the sleeve and lengthen this length from here to there, it will push the steering wheel in the other direction. Once again, it does not affect toe. However, it is good to have an alignment performed after this job is done. In order to ensure that I have everything lined up correctly, I'm going to take a tape measure and measure from the center of this tie rod, and actually this has a grease fitting, so I'm going to go grease fitting to the grease fitting on the other side and measure an approximate distance. I know it's not going to get me spot on, but it'll get me close. I have 37.5 inches. Obviously it's not going to be the same for you, but when I put things back, I'm going to go grease fitting to the center of this one and make sure that it's 37.5 inches. So let's loosen up the sleeve first with a 15mm socket. You don't need to remove these, just loosen them up a little bit. At the top, there's a cotter pin that we have to undo. Just straighten it out, and hopefully it wants to break free, because a lot of times these don't, and if it doesn't, we'll have to cut it. There we go. Take that out and discard it. You don't want to reuse these. With a 21mm socket, loosen up this mounting nut. I'm going to slide it back on, just so that the tie rod doesn't drop down when I loosen it. Now this tie rod has already gone bad, it has play, so I'm just going to use a pickle fork and separate the stud from the pitman arm. If you want to tap the pitman arm, go ahead, but sometimes that can cause a little bit more vibrations than needed through the steering box and can damage some things. Now I know I'm still hammering on the pickle fork, but it's also putting pressure up and down to try to separate these at the same time. This one's pretty stuck, so I'm going to upgrade to a pneumatic pickle fork. There we go. Take the nut off and drop this down the rest of the way. On top of the measurement that I took earlier, I'm also going to count the amount of turns it takes to remove this tie rod so that I can put the new one back the same amount of turns and make sure that it's as close as possible to how it was before. Having said that, if this sleeve is really tight on this tie rod, you're going to have to hammer a pry bar in here, something to open it up, maybe a chisel of some sort, so that the threads don't clamp down real tight on this. Now this is rusted and old, but it looks like it has been recently removed, most likely when this was replaced. So for me, it actually spins freely, and there is quite a bit of anti-seize on here, which I also recommend, and will add some at the end. "22 turns is what it took for me. For you, it's probably going to be different, so write down whatever number you had and let's install the new one. Apply a little bit of anti-seize to the threads so that this doesn't get stuck in the future. You don't need a lot, and basically if you just put some at the beginning of the threads, it'll work its way into the rest of the threads as you thread it on. I'm not going to bother putting any inside the sleeve because there is already quite a bit. And now let's just thread this in, same amount of turns it took to remove the old one. And that's it right there. Now take the tie rod and slide it back in. There we go. Start the mounting nut on, and let's tighten it up. The torque on this is 67 foot-pounds, so I'm going to make sure I don't accidentally over-tighten it. So that's 67 right there. However, this is a castle nut, so it has to line up with the slot so we can put the cotter pin through. For me, I have to keep tightening a little bit. You always want to continue tightening to line these up and never loosen, no matter how close it is. Okay, that should do it right there. Stick the cotter pin through. We're going to bend it over to lock it in. I like to leave them a little bit of wiggle room. It makes them less likely to seize up. It's time to tighten up the sleeve. You want both ends of the tie rods to be parallel to where they mount. You don't want them to be at an angle, otherwise it's going to wear out the joint prematurely. Take that 15mm socket, snug these up. Torque on these is 41 foot-pounds. Everything's tight. Check the position of your steering wheel, adjust if necessary, and take it for a road test.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.